Before we start importing tracks from other sessions, let's understand how other DAWs work with this feature. For example, in Logic, you can have multiple songs open and copy things from one session or one song to another song. This is very much the same thing in multiple DAWs when you're working Cubase, Sonar, Ableton Live, and so forth. But in Pro Tools, we have something different. It's called Import Session Data. If you go underneath the File menu, you can go into Import Session Data. You can find your session, your .ptf file. And when you open up the session, you have this huge dialog box that has a lot of features that can be grabbed from that particular session. It gives you session properties, for example, the time code, the bit depth, sample rate, the file format that session is working at, and so forth. Now, before we start talking about this dialog box in more detail, I want to show how we can pull this up from other ways. So I can hit the Escape key, and I can go into my workspace browser, which is Option semicolon. Again, this is underneath the Windows menu. We can find a session by doing a search, and remember, you can go into the kind and just choose just your session files to be found. And I can go into the .ptf file and drag it into my tracks list. Escape. I can drag it into my playlist, or I can also grab it and drag it into my regions list. Something very unique happens when going to the regions list. We can import all audio from that session into my regions list. This is very handy, and let's say you have a lot of loops or something from that session that you want to just grab and pull them all in. So this could be a very nice feature. Now I can do the exact same thing by going into my Finder, looking for a session file, and dragging it into my tracks list, my playlist, and so forth. I'll just drag this into the regions list just to show the same feature shows up. So let's go ahead and grab this from the workspace browser right now. I'm going to drag this and throw it into my playlist. And at the very top, you have the choice of maintaining your time code be absolute or relative, or you can map it to a different time. This is in case you have sessions at different time code start points. You may offset your timing, so you may want to bring the information in 4 bars later or so forth. You can choose how you want your media copied or referenced. So if you're linking to it, this simply is just a file fork out to that folder or location to play the media. I do not recommend this because now you're making this session rely on another session to work properly. If you copy, again, everything is self-contained and it's always there if you drag that session to another drive or another folder and so forth. Now, consolidate I don't recommend as well. This allows you to grab information from other sessions, but instead of having individual audio files, you have one audio track that is completely solid of audio, and it just allows you to bring all those elements in without any fades or any ability to re-edit or trim or make different crossfades and so forth. So this really pulls the functionality out of the track if you need to edit it more. You can change the sample rate by applying that. Again, I don't recommend this. You always want to pull media in that has the same sample rate, bit depth, and so forth. You can even pull in your video content. You can even match the tracks that you're bringing in. So I could say this drum track on this session needs to match to the synth track. So for example, if I had a track inside this session that was named Drums 1, it would, when I click on match, it would find the actual track called Drums 1 within the current session and match it with this Drums 1 from the other session. So kind of cool. So you can replace data or add existing data from other sessions that have similar named tracks. I'm going to go ahead and just simply click on this and it creates a new track to be added, or I can click in here and I can say I want to do it as Synth 1. I'm going to go ahead and just keep it on new track though for right now. I don't want to replace the synth.1 track that I have currently. I have the ability to import tempo, map, key, chord information, markers, memory locations. We will get into these a little bit later on. The window configurations we have discussed. You can import those from other sessions. Very cool. You can get into preamp settings. You can actually import and replace existing information on tracks. Now, you may not see this particular drop-down menu in version 9. There's quite a bit to choose from here. And don't worry about this at this point. These are more advanced features this dialog box offers. So I can, for example, just choose only to have my track comments imported in from another session. That's pretty unique. So if you're in standard LE or version 8 LE, you have everything being pulled in. So that may be a little frustrating. You may want to go in there and only bring in the automation from that one track, or bring in the plugin setting from another track. Where in version 9, you can be very specific on what elements you want to bring in from that one track. So pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And it automatically copies everything over. And it says it's in a different disk allocation. Do you want to save the settings? No. Again, this is a NAG window. And you can see that everything shows up in my regions list. If I hide my workspace browser, things are gray. The reason these tracks are gray right now is because they are not using the same output assignments as what the session has been set up for. So, for example, the output on this track is set up for mains, but this one's set up for main outputs. So let's go ahead and set this up to be on mains. So as you'll notice, everything is colored and showing up, and I can even zoom in and I can see all my fades. I can do all my trim and edits like I could in the earlier session. So enjoy this feature, but this is the main way of bringing elements in from other sessions.